Hello and welcome to Journey to Easter. Today's Monday, March 13th, and we're in the third week of Lent already. Isn't that amazing? I hope these days are just going well for you. As I keep saying, I hope you're seeing things different. I hope you're doing things different, and I hope you're living things differently, your life differently. I want to focus a little bit on the gospel today. It comes from the Gospel of Luke chapter 4. And it's a story where Jesus goes into his hometown, to proclaim God's word in the synagogue. And of course, he's not that well received there. In fact, people are pretty upset with him. It's almost like this evil comes out in them, and they, want to do away with him. They take him to a point where they rush him out of there, and they're going to push him down a hill, maybe to his death. But somehow he sneaks out of that. I wonder when I look at this story, it talks about this kind of wrong response or this evil response of the people and how God allows that to happen. Sometimes bad things do happen and God allows that. And it's because of the way people do respond. It's their own human nature, that they choose. I mean, God gives us that free will, to choose to do wrong or to go against him. Why does he allow that to happen? I don't know exactly. But then I look at things and I say, because there could be some good that does come out of it. I don't know if you remember the movie Evan Almighty. And there's a part in that movie, and of course, the whole story is about where God takes this ordinary guy, a guy in today's world, and he tells him to build an ark. And, everybody laughs at him. Everybody makes fun of him, because he's building this ark. And his wife and family, they're a little bit, filled with anxiety over this. And, they're coming to a point where they're thinking that their husband, their dad, that he's crazy. Well, there's a part in the story where the wife is at a restaurant, and the gentleman in the movie, Morgan Freeman, who portrays God, all of a sudden becomes her waiter. And there's this kind of back and forth that goes between them, and he comes up to the wife as a waiter, and she says something about, well, my husband is Evan, the one that's building the ark. And of course, Morgan Freeman, God, says to her, he says, oh, I love that story about Noah and the ark. A lot of people miss the point of that story. They think it's about God's wrath and about God's anger. They love it when God gets angry. But then the wife says, well, what's the story about then? Is it about the ark? And God says, well, I think it's a love story. It's about believing in each other. The animals showed up in pairs. They stood by each other side by side, just like Noah and his family. Everybody entered the ark side by side. And then the wife says back to him, but my husband says God told him to do it. What do you do with that? And God, Morgan Freeman, says back, sounds like an opportunity. And he poses these questions to her. He says, let me ask you something. If one prays for patience, do you think God gives them patience? Or does he give them the opportunity to be patient? If they pray for courage, does God give them courage? Or does he give them the opportunities to be courageous? If one prayed for their family to be closer, do you think God zaps them with warm fuzzies and feelings? Or does he give them the opportunities to love each other? My point in sharing the story about Evan Almighty is that in this story, there is an evil response. But God works through that sometimes to bring about his goodness. And obviously, Jesus continues on with his ministry. And yes, those people and so many others began to see the goodness of God in that. I don't think God ever comes down and zaps us in this moment and says, it's going to be a good moment. Sometimes through the challenge, through the bad, through the ugly, through the evil, God brings about his goodness. He allows it to happen. Open your eyes and see the opportunities that he's giving you. Continue your journey to Easter.